Club, where not only do they solve crosswords, but they also write crosswords, possibly distribute them in the tartan. I think that'd be a really great addition to our campus since we're all nerdy and cool and awesome.
Thank you. Brian and Amanda?
So Amanda and I have been involved with a lot of things collectively. A couple of things that we haven't been involved with, we haven't been on an athletic team. We think Scotch and Soda does some great things, and I'm not a part of that. And we haven't been really involved in green practices at CMU, so like Sustainable Earth. One new organization we'd like to start, this is a little bit meta, but we'd like to start an organization to help organizations get off the ground. And this is actually one of our ideas, an innovation incubator. So bringing together members of JFC, COSO, board of directors, VP organizations, to make it easier for organizations to start up and get in touch with the right people.
Thank you. Will and Mila?
Yeah, we identified a few. I think a big one we put out as Mayor. They're huge. Their PR is, you always know when something is happening with Mayor, and you know that brand, and we respect that a lot.
One of the second ones was site, and mainly because they get most of their power done by dividing in projects and working with other organizations or other outside the community project leaders. And they, out of all the organizations we've met with them recently to talk about preparing for certain projects with our campaign, they get so much done. As far as effectiveness goes, like site has that kind of use mapped out.
Next one we put 1,000 plus in terms of servicing, but really the way that they have one singular focus and they can execute that so well. Also, because I think it's one of the best community events at CMU. You get a lot of people together, and it's very rare for other things besides more celebratory kind of stuff that you're able to do that. So the fact that they can really make a big community out of an event, we respect that.
And then some organizations that I think or we think together should probably evolve is recently I've been involved with the development of honor societies within the college community and civil society. And it's just from like community feedback has been really positive. Students love the idea of starting an organization that provides scholarship opportunities and also provides that kind of, as Seth was talking about, like the give back from the university. I think it's one of the more positive organizations that you can, develop in the college and really develop the community relations with students.
Thank you. Amy and Brian?
So first of all, KGB. We think they're a fantastic social organization, and they really bring a sense of community to a lot of people here on campus. Also, Robo Club. We think Robo Club really does great things with their space, really does great things with making themselves open-minded, but also they just do really cool things. They have a presence, and we love them. And we want to give a shout out to the Mobile Apps Club, which is
it's a very recently recognized club, or it might not, I'm not sure if it's completely through the process yet. Okay, so it is a very very recently recognized group. That,
like last few days.
Yeah.
But I've talked to a lot of people from there in the past year, and they do some really great things. They managed to get a lot of excitement about development out to people that like to think of that as something they don't do in their free time. And they've just done some great things for the school. One thing that I think the school needs more of is interdisciplinary organizations. There's an organization or a group of students that's starting now called Make CMU. They have a dedicated space, and they connect designers and developers together to create technical projects in their community. I think that one of the things you can do that can most empower people is introduce them to people unlike themselves, because then they can get more done, they can get different things done. I'd love to work with Make CMU and other highly diverse organizations to create more interdisciplinary things.
Thank you, candidates. To speed up the process, why don't we move the line over here and you guys can use my microphone? No. Yeah. So really fast. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Meg. I was actually listening upstairs when you started talking about Carnival through RCT. And so my question was targeted mostly towards you, Seth. But what kinds of things do you think that the university should be giving back? While you did talk about Carnival's budget, and Carnival's budget is big. I wrote it myself, like I know where it is big. But there are a lot of things in there that we get for free that don't get, aren't in our JFC budget. We get the university center's designer comes on site and inspects booths for us. And we have free scaffolding to make everything safer. We got the hard hats at a very discounted price as a gift from Madeline Miller and John Hannon. So what kinds of, and Dietrich College Day, that was organized a lot by students. There were AB Concerts did the concert, AB Tech did all of the tech management, students in Highland Ambassadors did all of the events, in the tent. So I'm just curious where you think that this university isn't giving back enough.
So working backwards, just to clarify, I'm not saying the university should be doing all of the work. With like the Guster concert, like the university empowered students. They gave money to AB Tech so that AB Tech could set up the stage. They paid for Guster to come here. I know Carnival's budget is big. I also sit on JFC. One of like my biggest concerns is the like $26,000 for security costs. It's roughly around there. Well, what is it? Well, including sweepstakes. So.
I mean, but they're separate organizations.
Right, but for Carnival kind of like as a whole. So for your particular budget, $15,000 in security costs is somewhat like outrageous in my opinion. I think we need police officers there. And I think that, the university is donating a designer or an architectural person to inspect booths to make sure that they're structurally sound so that people don't get hurt. And we're getting discounted rates on things, but compared to what other universities are doing, like that's just not enough, in my opinion at least. I feel like Carnegie Mellon, in the very least, could donate their police force. Obviously, the police officers aren't going to get paid. I don't expect the police officers to donate their time during, the days around Carnival. But at the same time, I feel like the university could contribute back. That would cut $15,000 out of your budget every year that you could put towards anything that you wanted, really. Does that answer your question? Like, that's just one concrete example. And like Carnival was one example I gave of university contributions, but kind of like Will and Mila already touched on, like, that was one concrete example, but what I'm really looking for is things to fill like the hell time that we have in between these major events. Smaller events that, yes, student organizations put on, but they don't have the budget because the student activities fee isn't high enough, or because JFC didn't give them enough money, or whatever the reason, albeit the fact of the matter is, like, we want the university to step up and start doing things for all students across a broad gambit of interests and cultures and diversities and religions to fill these gaps of like nothingness that exist in stressful times on our campus.
But where do you propose that money come from? It has to come from somewhere.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We just got a Dietrich endowment, which I like. Contrary to popular belief, if it isn't like a $250 million check that goes into our account, it happens over multiple years. But then there's also the central administration fee, which is coming out of Gina's budgets now to go back to student organizations. But in the future, is that going to be sustainable? That's a conversation that needs to be had. Can I keep talking?
Let's keep to the timeline. We still have a lot of questions to get through.
Okay.
You guys, feel free to continue this conversation after the debates. That's what the debates are all about. So if whoever has the next question, can come on over.
Yeah. Three chorus.
All right. Hello, everyone, again. So obviously a big thing that's been talked about this year within my own term is the idea of transparency, PR, whatever you want to call it. I'd like to ask you all about what you think the practicality is of what you all are going to be able to do. What we've seen this year is a record number of candidates, but a record low amount of campaigning in terms of when platforms have gone up, the amount of postering, the amount of tabling that has occurred prior to this election is the lowest that I've seen since I've been here. And this is prior to trying to work on any of these platform initiatives. So where do you see next year the practicality when the primary bulk of your time is going to be taken up by other responsibilities that won't even have anything to do with your platform?
Let's start with Amy and Brian at the end.
I would be happy if most people on this campus knew what COSO and JFC and GSA all stood for. I think that it's really important that people just understand what student government is and the different processes that go into it. I don't think that we're going to have every single person on this campus knowing that, but I think that if we can break through that and get people at least somewhat interested in what's going on, then we've done a good job.
Yeah, and to address the practicality problem, I honestly, I don't think it's really that hard to get to kind of do kind of the things that we've been doing. I mean, I've probably spent maybe 2 hours a week advertising for our campaign, and I feel like we've hit print campus pretty good. And so I just don't think it's that much of an effort.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, we don't quite have as much up as we want. The reason is, we have commitments now that we wouldn't have if we were president. I mean, I'm chair of the Senate right now, I'm president of Scotch and Soda right now, I'm an HOC right now, I'm organizing a trip to Harrisburg, and we put together a really big platform. You know, I've been tabling for Senate. Obviously, it's a weird conflict of interest if I'm saying, oh, but I'm also president, and Senate right now is my commitment, because I believe it's, you know, I started a process and I want to really see that come to fruition. Next year, all those things I'm mentioning wrap up and come into the president's role, and we already mentioned how we're prioritizing it. I could, if I wanted to, graduate next, this fall semester. So I'm planning on spreading, you know, a year's worth of courses over 2 semesters, and I can do that because I'm done with all my core stuff. Mila's in the same boat. Like you said, she's able to graduate practically right now. So yes, there's been some costs in terms of us not having posters out and stuff like that as early as we want, but there have been benefits because the Port Authority stuff is getting addressed, Senate's growing, Scotch and Soda, I'm fulfilling my commitment to them. So I don't think it's an issue, really. I think it's, yeah.
And also, we've been doing a lot of privatized campaigns, so setting up meetings with individual group leaders and trying to, a big part of our campaign has been meeting them, seeing what they want, and then trying to develop a kind of goal or initiative that we can include into our campaign, whether if we're elected or not. So you may not see it, but it's happening. And I know that that's a large part of what goes on as student body president is that you don't see it and it's happening. The only different part here is that this is just the campaign period, so it'd be a little bit weird to be like, oh, today we met with someone who doesn't want to be named. But we are doing privatized campaigning and then focus on social media and stuff like that.
So we've been taking a really realistic approach to our campaign, and we think it has been working so far. You know, we have 200 or so views on our YouTube videos. You know, instead of responding to a question by email, we're responding to the questions face to face so that students can see who their candidates are, and I think that's really important. You know, we might not have the most posters around campus, but we have a really great reach in our online campaign initiative. Our Facebook page has had several views. We have polls there that are extremely active. And so I think our approach to the campaign effort is both realistic and relevant to the students. And next year we intend to delegate the tasks of public relations within our cabinet so that the tasks are more manageable and actually do have an impact on the community.
Yeah, I know, like, personally, I'm in the same boat as Will. I feel the same way. I have a lot of commitments right now. Like, Will and I both sit on JFC. He's the Senate chair. I'm a senator. Together, those take up like 10 hours a week. It's a big time commitment, especially JFC. I'm also a TA for 2 classes, and I hold office hours 4 hours a week. So a lot of those commitments are gone come, you know, next year. I'm also in the same boat as Will and Mila in that I can graduate a semester early, so I'm going to be spreading a semester's worth of credit out over 2 semesters, which is incredibly helpful when you only have to take 36 units and you can still graduate on time. That opens up a lot of free time in your schedule. In addition to that, I think, like, part of the reason that we haven't had posters out is I'm relying on, like, a designer to help do things for me, and I don't want to pressure, like, that person to do things because they're not on my cabinet. They have, like, absolutely no reason to work for me other than out of the goodness of their heart, so I'm not going to jump down their throat and expect them to do things at the last minute whenever, like, they have other obligations. It's a CMU student. Like, I understand. I'm an understanding person. That being said, if you're on cabinet and you take on an initiative, I'm not going to have that same attitude towards people.
I'm just worried about getting my name out there. So Yeah, I was actually surprised too. I haven't seen as much this year. Oh, it does work. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know. I've been doing a lot of stuff on